scheduling of a stored procedure. So for that, we'll use what we call a event. To schedule anything, we just use a special function that we call the event. So for that, what we do first, we have to set up that event scheduler is on a system or not. So first, you can do a show process list. So it will show you the list of schedules. So if it doesn't show you event scheduler, so that means your event scheduler is off, and you have to set it on by this function set global event scheduler equal to on. Then your event can be scheduled. So to start, for the starting, we'll just create a new table. This table just have two columns. First is message, and the second is a date time when a particular record will be created. So we'll just create this table. Okay, now the table has been created. Now we'll create our first event. So for event, what we need is create then event, then the event name, on schedule. Basically, then you give the time, and you give a do function. So what this event should do. So for this, what we are doing is we are creating an event, test event 1, at current timestamp, and what it will do is it will we created a message table. In a message table, it will insert the value of test MySQL event 1 and now. So basically, current date and time. So if we run this, run this command. So if we check our table, so we'll have our first record. You can see the date and time is 10:20, 9:21. So this is the event, and it is running on the current timestamp. So any issue with the create event part?
Swap, instead of like now, if you want to schedule like 7:30 every day, like how will you fix that?
What 7:30 every day? So you can give a schedule on. You can give a directly time schedule it and give the time. So instead of current timestamp, you will give the time, and you will give the intervals as well. Interval after 1 day. So the next would be telling. On the next, I will tell you how to schedule for a limited period of time. So this is done. So if you want to see the number of events in your system, so you just run this command show event. So right now it's not showing us the event which we created. It is because in MySQL the event get deleted once it is executed. So this event has been completed, and now it's been removed from the system. So to keep your event in the system, then we use a command on completion preserve. So if we do that that way, it would remain in our system. So let me show you. If we just, this is test event 2, and it would enter a value of test MySQL event 2 now with a timestamp, but after the interval of 1 minute. So if I run it now, so I will run it, and if I see, so we haven't received this new record as of now. So we have to wait for a minute, and then only we'll get this data. So now we have a record. After a minute, we can see we got a new record. So now if I see the show event in KKSS, so we can see test event 2, even though it's completed, but it's still there because we use a command of on completion preserve. So the event would be there even after it has been expired. So this was 2 events. Now we would be calling our store procedure, so that we can schedule it. So we'll create a procedure. The procedure is doing a normal function. It's just adding inserting the values in the new our message table. Let it test my SQL recurring event and with the date time stamp. So let's create this procedure. So now this procedure has been created. So we have this our customer file. Okay, now let's create a third event, that is on schedule or after every 1 minute. Start from the current timestamp and end on current timestamp till 5 minutes. So for every minute, it would run till 5 minutes. So we'll get five values when we run this event, and it will call our store procedure again and again. So and what our store procedure will do, it will after a minute, it will call the store procedure, and store procedure will insert a value to it. So we can, if we just recall this event.
Swap.
Yeah.
Okay, you insert. I thought of like decreasing that time space like within 1 minute, right? Maybe you can like, make it 20 seconds or so. Or we can like abstract those our record updates.
Okay, you want me to reduce this time now?
Yes.
So I have to drop this event and do it again. Yeah, we can. So let's drop this event 3. First check the file whether it's not came or not. Okay, we already got R1 because of the current timestamp. So now if I drop it, so it won't go for the next one because the event has been dropped. It can take 30 seconds. Table before running this. Okay, so we have 3 records. Now if I'm scheduling, creating this event, let's see the table now. So we have the 4th record at 27:43. So the next record would be at 28:13. We have next record, and it will continue till the 5 minutes are over. So it will continue till 9:30 to 43. We'll have our last record. So okay, yeah, this was the way by which you can just schedule any event or any query. So in do command, you can just call your store procedure if you want, or you can call your any query. So any doubt in creating the procedure, creating an event? Okay, I think we don't have any issues with this. So let's see if we got new records or not. Yeah, we got another record, and it will continue till the time is over. So we can check it afterward as well. So if you want to edit anything, you can't edit it directly. You just need to drop that event and then do the changes and call it again. So as I already told you that we didn't preserve our first event, so it got deleted. So if I see this, if I try to drop the first one, we'll get a warning that event 01 does not exist.
Okay.
So this is the issue with the events. So if you don't use this command on completion preserve, the event will expire, and yeah, you won't see that event again until unless you call it again. So yeah, this was the scheduling part. Now we can move to the functions.
So what is the syntax for calling event? Like call event and event name, or even
call event? If not exists, I just put to verify whether this event exists or not. So it's a optional statement. So you will create event name on schedule. You have to give the time on which and a do part. So do part in
no,
which
we actually preserved event number 2, right? Now if we want to call that, should we write like call event test event underscore 2 or call event test event underscore 2? What is syntax for it?
you want to call this event. Sorry, you can't call an event. You just need to run that event.
Okay, so then what's the reason of preserving that event? Is there any particular?
See, if you want to see how many events did it run, so when you go to here, show event in KKSS, so it's showing 2 and 3, but it would never show you the first event that has already been occurred.
Okay.
And you can see the status. The second event has been disabled, and the current the third is been enabled. So after 5 minutes, this event will also disappear, and you won't know which event have, because we are not using that on completion preserve command here as well.
Okay.
So I think almost the time that we have run this. So let's see how many records have came. So 30 to 13. So this would be the last record. Yeah, we already had 3 record, and it added 10 more record on the 30 second, basically 30 second interval, 5 minutes. So yeah, it added 10 records. So this way all the events works. And now if we check whether that event is there or not, you can see that test event 03 has also gone. Okay, now let's move to the user defined function. Okay, so before moving to this, do you guys remember we create a store feature doing a similar function, but whether telling based on the grade? Let me show you the table. Okay. So we have a customer table, and here we have grades. Okay, so we had a condition that based on the grade, we have to decide whether the customer is a platinum customer or a non-platinum customer. So if the grade is 300 or more than that, then they are platinum, else they are non-platinum. For that, we made a store procedure, that is get customer level, in which we are getting a customer level based on the customer ID which we are passing. Okay, this was a store procedure which we created. So now we'll do the same task using the functions, user-defined function. So what we are doing here is, okay, we are creating a function, the create function, give a function name, and the input variable. So there's a after this, I will tell you the difference between the store procedure and the function. So first you need to create a function, create function, then the input variable, then you type, then returns the value, the varchar, then just a deterministic and begin. Level is greater than 300, will get greater than equal to 300, will give them. Am I audible to you? Hello?
And there was some lag in.
Yeah. So what I was saying is, yeah. So in the while create function, you will give a create function and a function name. Then you have to give a input variable. Then you have to define the return variable type, data type. What kind of data type it would return. Then this is that you have to type deterministic and begin. So for this, I just declared a variable t customer level whose data type is same as my return value. Okay. So what we are doing is we are just checking that if the C level is greater than equal to 300, we are marking as platinum, else we are marking it as non-platinum, and we are returning a p customer level and just ending it. So this way we are just creating a function. So our function has been created. So and if you see our store procedure which we created, so in that we were just using the query as well, and from that query we are getting the output, basically grade into C level, then we are comparing the C level. But in function we are not doing that way. So in function we are not using the query as of now. So if you want to see whether the function has been created or not, you can just show function status in your database. You can see function level, and you can see it from here as well, schemas as well. You can just refresh and you can see in functions you have cust level as your function. Okay, now what I'll do is I will just run my select star and the cust level grade from the customer table. So if I run this, so you can see for every record I am getting this value, but we are not getting that through the store procedure. So for while working with the store procedure, what we are doing was we are passing the basically customer ID, that then we were storing that in the %temp variable, and then we were doing select %temp. So sorry, @temp. But here you can just call a user defined function with a select query itself, and it will do for each and every record.
Yeah, understood.
Okay, yeah, so this was the function. So any issue with the functions?
Any significance for the keyword deterministic swap?
Sorry, I didn't get you.
Any significance for the keyword deterministic there in the function?
Yeah, actually deterministic and non-deterministic, there are two functions, deterministic and non-deterministic. I am actually not very much clear about them, but yeah, I will try to explain what I got to know. So give me a second. So okay, let me share my screen again. I can show you this, what I found for deterministic. So can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it is we have to define whether the keyword, whether we have to give deterministic or non-deterministic. So deterministic always returns the same result for the same input, whereas non-deterministic function returns different result for the same input. So this is what they have given it. So I'm not very much clear about it. So if you don't give the value, it will by default take non-deterministic option.
Okay.
So this was a user-defined function. So so now the difference between these two functions, basically the store procedure and the user-defined functions are, okay, the first difference is store procedure may or may not have a return, but a user-defined function must have a return. So you can see our store procedures. Most of them we didn't define any return function. Let's see. Let's go to our first store procedure. Yeah. So here we did. This is our first store procedure, and we didn't define any input or as well as any return function. But when we are using a user-defined function, we need basically a return function. The second is that store procedure can have input or output parameter, but user-defined function have only input parameter. So in user-defined function, you don't have any output parameter. You have to give input parameter. We can call a user-defined function from a stored procedure, but we can't do a vice versa of it. So you can call a user-defined function from a stored procedure, but you can't call a stored procedure within a function.
Oh.
And the last one is you can call the function from a select, like I showed you. We can call our function from a select, insert, update, basically a normal SQL query, but we can't call a store procedure from that. For store procedure, we have to use a call command. But for functions, you can do a select you can call it from the select statement as well. And the fifth one, even I'm not clear. You can try to use a catch exception handling in store procedure, but you can't do in user-defined function. And you can use a transactions in store procedure, but it's not possible in user-defined functions. So this was the last difference. So the main difference, which is if you want to use both input and output variable, then you have to go for a store procedure instead of functions. But if you want your result to be with the tables and all, so you just use a function. So it will give you the result with each and every record of the table. Instead of passing each and every customer ID again manually, you can use a function itself. So that was all for today. So any doubts or any queries?
Swapnil, just one point. So a while back we were talking about the scheduled runs of the stored procedure, right?
Yeah.
And so basically it's showing what are the stored procedures that are currently scheduled to run, right? That's what this table shows.
This table shows what all events are there in the system. So it may be like this is disabled, so it's already ran. So if I run this, let's see if I run this command again, and if I show it is show events. So it will show you that this event is currently running.
Got it.
So it's enabled, and if you have just preserved it, so it will show all the disabled as well.
Right. Maybe you couldn't possibly check this out, but I was just curious. In case a stored procedure has run or not run, does it also have the provision to show those logs anywhere?
See, if it hasn't run, it will give you the error, because if you don't call this function, you just execute this query.
Okay.
If you have any error in that, it will just give you the error at the bottom action output as well itself.
Okay, got it.
And it will tell you the type, whether it's a one-time or a recurring.
Right. Yeah. I was just curious because so typically in an enterprise setting, we'll have around hundreds of these events to schedule to be run day by day, and suddenly, so the users who consume those tables or those reports, right? Suddenly they'll come one day and they'll say that, hey, today I didn't get the data in this table. Could you please check? So then, what might be useful is so what people usually do is they go through these event logs basically, and then they try to identify which particular event linked to which particular table has not run on that day and what was the problem. So in this way they do RCA. Just food for thought.
For that, see, if it's a one-time event, it will show you the execute at. So it will show you the date and time when this command has been executed. And for the recurring, it will be showing you that at the interval 30 seconds, it's running from this time to this time.
Right. Okay. Got it.
Yeah, but if you don't preserve it, it won't show you in the log. So that's is the issue with using Trace.
Yeah, I think a good practice might be to preserve it.
Yeah, like this first one ran, but you can't check it from the logs.
Right.